Hey, storytellers! Before we start today's episode, we have something exciting to share. The Storyteller Shelf Summit is almost here. A full week of virtual mini masterclasses to help you grow as a writer, an illustrator, or an educator in children's literature. We are also offering an exclusive pitch event with literary agent Saron Harvey, giving you a rare chance to get your work in front of an agent. To participate, you'll need to purchase both the summit ticket and the separate pitch ticket. Click the link in the description. We can't wait to see you at the summit.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Storyteller Shelf podcast. It's Jackie here with Teresa, and we are celebrating a monthly theme, transformation. So we are looking at transformation on the community level today through children's books, literacy, and access to those books. So we have two extremely special guests here with us today from the Madison Reading Project, which I think everyone here is going to know who they are. So let's just hop right into it. And Griffin and Josh, could you each tell us a little bit more about who you are and what your roles are?
My name is Josh, and I'm so happy to be here with Jackie and Teresa and be joined by my great colleague, Griffin. I am the donor engagement specialist at Madison Reading Project, and basically my job is to steward our donors, make sure that they feel appreciated, that they feel comfortable giving, and give again. That's what we're all looking for, is a sustainable donor base to empower our programming team to continue to do the great work in the Madison community. It's been a bit of an interesting path to get here. I got my bachelor's degree in history from a very small liberal arts college in Virginia. And then I went on to grad school. I got my master's in Indigenous Studies from the University of Kansas. And then I did a little bit of stint in politics for about a year. And that's actually when I met my current boss, Rowan, the co-executive director and founder of Madison Reading Project. So that's originally how I got connected with the work of Madison Reading Project. And then I found out that there was a job opening here and have been here working since November of 2024. And it's been such a great journey and it's been a great team to be a part of. So I'm happy to be doing the work that I am, and I'll let Griffin introduce themselves now.
Thank you, Josh. Hi, I am Griffin. I use they, them, and I'm incredibly happy to be here with you guys. I am the Books for Educators coordinator at Madison Reading Project. So I mostly deal with teachers. We have a couple different programs that revolve around teachers. So mostly I just run communications with them and make sure they're getting the things that they need out of our programs. Let's see, I've been here since the summer of 2022. So this is my fourth summer, and I came right out of undergrad I started as a programming assistant, just driving the bus around, giving books out to kids, and then decided to stay on full time. And I originally managed the book center, which is the space where we get all our donations, and we have teachers shop for books in there. And I've just found that was what I really enjoyed doing, was helping teachers get the great diverse titles that their classrooms really needed.
That's so inspiring. So you both work at the same place, of course, in two different positions, but you've also both taken really unique paths to get there. And we love sharing that because we're all about unexpected journeys here, and we speak to a lot of people who are career changers. So they might have gone to school for one thing, and then they want to work in books, ? What comes next? Literacy, advocacy, writing. So I think we're going to find a lot of inspiration in the different ways that you got to where you are. But before we dive into that more, I'd love to kind of go back in memory lane for you two and see if there were any book memories or moments from your childhood that really shaped your connection to literacy.
So I was really fortunate to grow up in the home where it was my mom is an educator, still is, and it's really amazing. She's actually now a reading specialist and has been for the past 10 years, I believe. Our house was always a place where we had books. My parents were always like, if you want a book, just ask. Basically, whenever we went to the bookstore, whether they be used or new, they were always willing to buy at least one book, which was a really fortunate thing for my childhood. And unfortunately, a lot of kids don't have that kind of experience growing up. I always remember my mom reading to me books like There's a Monster at the end of this book with Grover. I remember that being like one of my favorite books because my mom used to do like all the voices for Grover, and it was just the best experience. I also remember Frog and Toad books. Those were a big favorite of mine. I actually just bought a shirt yesterday with Frog and Toad on it because it's just such a special memory of mine. My mom read to me all the time, my brother and I, and I have very fond memories. Reading has been such a central tenet of my life for a long time.
I think similarly to Josh, I grew up in a house where reading was highly encouraged. My older brother was a huge reader. He always had his nose in a book. My mom also read to us a lot. I remember the first picture book that I really loved was Love You Forever, about the little boy growing up. And then Harry Potter was the first like chapter book that she read to us. And I don't know if we ever finished it together, but I went and read them on my own a bunch of times. Then I kind of fell out of love with reading for a while in school. And it wasn't until a little later in high school when I made kind of like friends with my librarian, and she started recommending me some good books. And I have one that is sitting on my nightstand here. It's called The Gift of Rain by Tan Tuan Eng, and I highly recommend it. I read it again just coming out of college, and it was so beautiful. And I always keep it with me, and I'll never forget how powerful stories can be.
That's really beautiful. Lisa and I, in the past, we've shared kind of our own journeys into reading and how we learned to read and our habits for reading in the past. And to reiterate, Teresa, you're going to have to jump in here and give your story about your grandmother. But for me, I would say reading was definitely encouraged at home, but I did not pick up that encouragement. I was not much of a reader. It was really difficult for me. It took me a really long time to really find stories that resonated with me well. And part of that was I didn't really find characters that were like me or that had my home experience. So that made it really difficult.
Yes. I had a very feisty grandmother, God rest her. She was the most amazing lady in the whole world because she was always trying to get me to read. I had trouble reading as a kid. My mom was the same way. She was always like trying to help me read. And my mom was the one that was a big advocate in that as well. But my grandmother, she liked mystery books, even like a recipe book. She made it an adventure. I know that sounds funny, but that's kind of what Jackie is talking about is that she wasn't a good cook, but she always would pull out any and every little whatever it was. She's like, "Here, read this to me." And because she knew I struggled with reading. She was a very funny lady. She's from Arkansas. She's very like old Southern lady and here's the thing, she didn't get to finish school because it was during World War II. But she was a very big advocate for her grandchildren on reading and learning and education and everything like that. And so I'm very much inspired by her. And the same with my mom. My mom was a huge advocate for reading for me. All of the Harry Potter, C.S. Lewis, Tolkien, especially C.S. Lewis though, because like The Horse and His Boy or Madeleine L'Engle. Like, we always had the audiobooks, and I don't know if I'm probably saying my age here, but I'm probably older than everyone in this group. But I was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, and we had the cool audio tape. And so on road trips, we would always have the Wrinkle in Time, and my mom would play it, and it was, you hear the echoey voice of Mrs. Who and Mrs. What's-it. So that's like for me, like, and I too had a falling out with reading, but then I came back to it. So I think we have those ebbs and flows with books, but as long as we come back to them, they're like old friends and they want us to open the book again and learn about them and I look at it like an old friend. But I am excited to talk to both of you today, especially the fact that Madison Reading Project really advocates and helps and really inspires. And so if you could share for those new to Madison Reading Project, can you share your core mission in your own words?
Madison Reading Project is all about promoting equal access to books and promoting access to diverse books that actually reflect the readership of the kids in the communities that we serve. Book joy. Just going off of what we were just talking about, we're always trying to inspire those like interactions with books and with stories that are, joyful, they're happy, they're fun, and they make kids want to pick up books more in the future. That's really what we're about.
Yeah, of course, we're all about affirming the unique identities of the readers that we're serving here in Madison. So we're really trying to get books in the hands of kids that represent them, characters that look like them, stories that represent their lived experiences, things like that. So we're making sure that children in the Madison community have access to those stories that they really want. Really, I mean, the results show that kids are more likely to read when they see and have access to those kinds of books. Then they become more comfortable with reading other things in school and things like that. And that's really what we're all about, is building the curiosity and building a trusting relationship with the kids that we're serving.
That's awesome and very inspiring. And, were you talking about finding identity in the books and that gets people into wanting to go back and read that book again? I think that is amazing. And you're mentioning joy. It's funny that you mentioned it because that goes into my next question. Josh, can you talk about how do your values like joy, curiosity, and collaboration, how does that translate into everyday work of book distribution and programming?
Yeah, of course, we're a team of joyful people. I think from our founding back in 2014, we just found that joy can be found in books. It's just about giving books that kids want to read, that represent them. Like I said before, we're all about that. And we also have 2 book buses that we take out into the community. And you can just, when kids see the bus pull up, they get so excited because one, they're like big vehicles, and there's fun books on board. And it's colorful. It has kids on the side that look like them, different races, different backgrounds. It's just so important to see. And when kids see that, they know it's for them and that it's there as a resource for them. And we're the fun book people. I remember I pulled up to a site one time and a kid said, "It's the book man." And they were just so excited. So every now and then people in the office call me the book man. So it's a fun, I don't think there could be a more fun nonprofit to be a part of. It's so important right now in our social climate to make sure that kids are having access to any book that they want to read. That's just what we're all about, is joy and inclusivity.
Griffin, you mentioned that when you first started, you drove the bus around. And so could you share kind of how that translate into book distribution and programming?
So we use our buses for all sorts of things. We just got our second bigger one. The original Big Red Reading Bus was just kind of like a big cargo van outfitted with bookshelves, and we can take it to like community events at parks where the parks districts are putting together some wonderful events, and the community all comes out and they can just file on the bus and get a free book, and then see us the week after that at the next park. And then we also take them to like community centers where just like out of school time educators do amazing work with kids there. And we really are just there in support. We bring the buses and offer programs where we go and hang out with the kids. And like Josh mentioned earlier, we build relationships and we read to them so that they can kind of connect the whole fun experience with reading. And then at the end, they get to pick out their favorite book off the bus and take it home and keep it forever.
Josh, can you tell me more about the book center? What does that look like day to day? Like,
Yeah, the book center has been really busy lately. Before we started the show, I was mentioning that we just came off our biggest fundraiser of the year, and it was all hands on deck. Programming team, development team, we all came together and rallied behind each other to have and put on a really successful fundraiser called Ready to Wear. It's our all paper dress fashion show held at a really cool venue in downtown Madison called the Sylvie. That's been filling a lot of space. We've had arts and crafts going and things like that. But on a normal day, I'd say our book center is like a really small warehouse. And it's where our programming team kind of packs up boxes, puts them on the buses, or packs them into their own vehicles, and takes books directly to where kids are. That's essentially what the book center looks like on a normal day. We also have some office spaces where our programming team is able to plan and able to communicate with each other, kind of bounce ideas around for what other events we could be doing. Really, it's all about collaborating with each other, finding new partnerships. The development team has their own office in the back, and we kind of work on the fundraising aspect of it to make sure our programs can keep on running. The book center is a really fun place to be. It's just all these books coming in, whether it be from donors, from members of the community who want to give back. We also get a lot of financial contributions where we're able to purchase from wholesale partners and from other resources to make sure that there are new books going out into the community as well. We're really all about high quality books and new books, because if a child were to receive like a book that's beat up or a little tattered, that's not as special. So we want to make sure that they're able to get a new book that's theirs to keep forever. I think that's a really important aspect of what our mission does.
Hey, storytellers! If you're still juggling Word docs, sticky notes, and 47 browser tabs to keep your story straight, it's time to simplify your writing life. Meet Scrivener, the writing software built by writers for writers. Whether you're drafting a novel, a picture book, or even a dissertation, Scrivener helps you organize your scenes, research, and revisions all in one beautifully structured workspace.
Many of our guests on the Storyteller Shelf podcast have raved about Scrivener and how it completely changed their writing flow. You can move chapters around with a click, store your notes right next to your draft, and even set word count goals that actually keep you motivated.
Curious? Check out our affiliate link. It helps support the show at no extra cost to you. And let us know if you give it a try. We'd love to hear how it helps your writing process.
I realize this might not be completely aligned with your work duties, but could either of you tell us a little bit more about how you choose which books you purchase? So how do you know what your community needs more of when it comes to the topics, themes, and representation in books?
Yeah, I only do a little bit of that. That's mostly on some of my coworkers. We do have a great early literacy specialist on our staff who really has her finger on the pulse of new releases, what like publishers are putting out good books, what authors are doing good work. And she sends us great recommendations and puts together lists on our website that people can use to like donate books that we know we'll need. And then we also respond to just like general requests from mostly like teachers. I guess that's what I can speak to because that's the program I run. When they come shop for books or when we pack them up for them, we generally send them a questionnaire. What grade do you teach? What kind of books are you looking for? Are there any topics that your students have particular interest in? And we really get a really wide range of things that kids are into these days.
Being on the development team, I don't have as big of a role in purchasing books, or I go to a limited number of events compared to Griffin and my other colleagues. But I do remember going to a school visit recently where a child asked for a cooking book, and I hadn't got that request. I haven't received that request before. So that was really interesting. So we're always adjusting to the demands. We listen to kids, we listen to teachers. We make sure that if we keep getting those requests, obviously there is a need there, and we try to make sure that in our next round of purchases, we make sure that we get those books for future events.
I love hearing that you kind of get input from everywhere and everyone, because that just tells you how connected the community is and that they really trust in what you're doing. So they feel safe in saying, yes, we need books about this culture, about that identity, or even just about this genre. And you're able to actually process that individually. It's really beautiful to hear that wherever you go, whenever you're answering those emails, you do get that personal request and you try your best to fulfill it. I love that someone asked for a cookbook too.
My daughter has a Disney princess cookbook, and she always for her birthday, she always likes to make the Disney brave, or they have like the Mulan or can we try these? So I love that and it gets kids into trying new things as well. So I think that's awesome.
It is really cool. I haven't heard yet of a kid asking for a cookbook, which is sad because, a lot of them are actually watching like cooking YouTube. This is a tangent, but I just want to let you know I'm seeing it happening. So they're all going to be much better chefs than we are. I think we can leave it at that. But all right, let's move on to the next question. So you're listening a lot, right? This is a community-based initiative. You guys have a lot of programs that you do. So we would love to ask you if you had any details on how did these things come about? Okay, so can you walk us through how the team designs these literacy access initiatives to reach the communities? What are the behind the scenes small nitty-gritties that go on?
I can speak a little bit to how the organization started and then how kind of the programs evolved. In 2013, I believe it was when the Race to Equity report came out in Dane County, Wisconsin. And that report kind of found a lot of disparities between African American children and white children in schools. And I think it was that African American third graders were 4 times more likely to not be reading at grade level when compared to white students. And that disparity is like one of the worst rates or discrepancies between the two in the entire state and the entire nation. So that kind of led to Rowan, our founder, putting together Madison Reading Project and finding it as a nonprofit or establishing it as a nonprofit. And our programs can have kind of started from this small pilot program that we had at the Salvation Army of Dane County, all the way up to like having 5 or 6 program areas as a whole. So we have Bookmarked, which is our school-age literacy programming that kind of involves school visits, free book fairs in schools, and SEAM programming. And then we also have Books for Educators, which is Griffin's program, and that allows teachers to come in and register or sign up for the program and get 25 or more new books for their classrooms, which is absolutely amazing. It is one of our biggest programs right before the school year. And then we also do programming throughout the year with educators. We also have our early literacy programming. We have a great partnership with Meriter and St. Mary's hospitals in Madison. And that allows us to get books and literacy packs to newborns and their mothers. So they're coming into the world and they're able to have access to high quality board books, and their mothers are able to take them home as well and read to them and really start them early, which is a great partnership. It's one of my favorites. We also have Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. We're the local affiliate of that. So that allows children who live in Dane County with an address, they're able to sign up and get a free book every month up until their 5th birthday. That is a great initiative, and we're so happy to be a part of that and run that locally here in Dane County. There are some gaps that result from that program. So we also have My First Pages, which allows those children who may not have an address, who may not have easy access. Some apartment buildings here in the city, you're not able to fit those big books into mailboxes, and then they're not able to get to them, which really stinks. So we're able to have a lot of partnerships. We have over 200 partners in Madison, and we're able to get a lot of book packs to our partners. So we're making sure that no child is as many children. We're able to serve as many children as we can. We have our community access program. So that involves the book buses that we take out into the community. It also involves our little free libraries that we help stock across the city. We're not stocking books in people's yards or anything like that, mostly just ones that are in public locations. And we make sure that we're getting inclusive titles into those outlets as well. We also have our family literacy program. That's kind of a newer initiative. We are starting it to kind of make reading an intergenerational activity. We're still fleshing out all the components of it, of course, but we're kind of trying to make sure that we're also helping parents who are really a child's first teacher, as well as caregivers. And we're trying to empower them as they are really educators as well at home. That's another initiative that we're kind of still getting off the ground, but we're really excited to see where it goes.
Wow, a lot going on, but I have to tell you, It's so wonderful to hear you lay those out piece by piece, because as you do that, we can really envision how many people it takes to get this mission realized. So it's not just you, it's you and the whole community's backing you up. That's incredible. That's so inspirational. So Josh, you mentioned a statistic, so I'm going to use that, bounce off of it. You had some stats that helped you create programs and see that there was a need to do something. Have you gotten any statistics back recently that show you what you're doing is working?
Yeah, of course. I think they put out a 10 years later report after that report came out in 2013. I unfortunately don't remember the exact statistics that have come out, but I will say we do get anecdotal evidence of our work having an impact all the time. We see teachers who are visibly emotional when they're able to get access to these high quality books. Some even break down into tears, happy tears, that they're able to get these resources free of charge, and they're high quality. So, and they're also representing the students that they're serving. We also we see children smiling when they're able to pick out their books because they see a character that looks like them, that they are so excited to get their hands on the next Dog Man, things like that. Everyone loves Dog Man right now. It's all the rage. And they're so excited to read books that they want to read, that they keep hearing about from their friends. And we give them out for free to communities in need. And that's just so important. And obviously, if kids are reading things that they want to read and they're not being forced to read, then they're more likely to really comprehend things more, and get on track in terms of reading levels. That's really what we see as like our results are there. Kids are becoming more excited, and I am hopeful that those gaps are becoming less and less, and more kids are able to have the tools that they need to read on grade level and achieve anything that they set their mind to.
So speaking of those happy tears and the big smiles, we already spoke about Josh the bookman, but do either of you have one memory that just sticks with you no matter what, of somewhere that you went and you brought books and something happened, big emotions, excitement, or anything else?
It's difficult because there are actually a lot of experiences like that, which I am incredibly grateful to be able to say. One of the first ones that came to my mind was the first time we went to Disability Pride Fest here in Madison was, I want to say 2 years ago, and we still only had our little Big Red reading bus, but we were able to bring some really great books about characters with a variety of abilities, and I just had a great experience there. Everybody was so kind. And it was just such a bright, affirming, sunny event. I don't know. Um, and at that point, we had already secured the funding for our bigger, redder reading bus, as I personally call it, though that hasn't quite caught on. And so we were able to tell everybody about the bigger, fully ADA compliant reading bus coming next year with a wheelchair lift. It's wider, and the shelves are at a variety of heights. So everybody who wants to get on and look at books is able to. And then last summer, I was able to show up with that big bus and bring more stories that people wanted. And it was just such a happy day. It helped that the weather was beautiful both times. And I'm looking forward to another great Disability Pride Fest this year.
Personally love that we go to that kind of event. My mom is one of the bravest people I know, and she grew up with cerebral palsy, had a minor form of cerebral palsy all of her life, and she's never let it stop her. She's been such a inspiration to me in terms of, well, all of my life, but really she's a big reader and empowered me to read as well. It's just so important to serve all of our community members, regardless of their ability. So that has a special place in my heart as well. And I would say my favorite memory came about maybe in my second week of working here. It is also a big red reading bus. Bigger and redder, right, Griffin? When we took the bus out into the community, and we made a stop at one of our partners, and I think it was a kid who came. Of course, it was a kid that came on board, and they were just dressed in these bear pajamas, and they were just so excited to get on board the bus. And we found a book that had bears on the cover, and they were just so excited. And I remember they were with their caregiver, and it was time to get off the bus, and they ran over to me and grabbed my hand, and we stepped down the steps of the bus together. And they were just so excited to come on board of the bus and pick out a book that had their literal favorite animal on the cover. That was just a really precious moment, and that really came at a perfect time when I was just starting at the organization. Really allowed me to see that what we're doing really matters.
Yeah, we get to work with some very bright, very cute little kids. That just reminded me of another story. Part of our bookmarked program, like Josh brought up, is free book fairs. As part of those, every student in a school will get a free book. We'll set it up like the scholastic book fairs of old, if you remember. Except then the kids don't have to pay anything. They each get to come in and look through all the books and pick their favorite one and take it home. And I was at one of those a couple months ago, I guess. And there was this little kid who just could not find anything. And they asked for help, and we started looking around, and they eventually found something. And they sat down and started reading it. And then when they had to leave, they walked back up over to me, and they just hugged my leg, and they said thank you. And I could have cried right then and there.
They're the most heartwarming stories we've heard so far. And there's really nothing better than when you're working towards something that has to do with kids. Could be publishing the book, could be working in literacy and advocacy, whatever it is. The best part of it all is when it actually reaches the kid and you can see the happiness come through. That's whole next level. But what I'm hearing as we're talking is that you found these needs for things like Black voices and disabled voices in books. You also have kids come in with a general topic idea, right, that they might want. So maybe they want a Dogman book, maybe they want a bear book, or maybe they're just not sure. But do you have any idea of what kids in general seem to be gravitating to? What do they want in books lately?
Talk about this a little bit. The first thing that immediately comes to mind is graphic novels. Those have exploded in like the past 10, 15 years, and I think it's amazing. They are still getting some pushback from some parents when kids come on the bus and grab them. They're like, oh, come on, can't you get a real book? But they just make reading so much more accessible. They make it fun for a whole new audience that might not have ever delved into reading before. But then other than that, like we said, kids are into everything under the sun. There's some who only want books about penguins. I have one that I work with who really only wants books by Judy Blume. Yeah, you can never really predict it. We try our best, but I think we're always going to be maybe a half step behind the kids we work with.
Yeah, of course, we have so many great members of our team who are always listening to the kids and are able to act quickly and make sure or check with our wholesaler, see if we have any titles available. I remember there was a kid that came on the bus. They were not really interested in being there, and they didn't really want to pick out any books, which is totally understandable. You know, when kids are in school, they might have some experiences where reading becomes really a pain for them. And it becomes really unenjoyable. And they were really into sports. And of course, being in Wisconsin, the Packers are a really huge deal. And I showed him that we had a Packers book, and they were so excited that we had that. And yeah, we have a great sports selection as well. So any interests that a kid might have, odds are we have a book for them. That's really important to make sure that we are delivering to meet the needs and interests of our community.
How do you promote that reading joy for early literacy and engagement across age ranges, especially at this time when there is that COVID slide with reading?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that we do is just try to show up and set a good example, whether it's reading a book to kids or with kids, or when I'm at public events, I do a lot of just reading my own books. And I get to sit there and I get to mingle and help people pick books. And then in my downtime, I read, and showing how fun the experience can be is what we try to do. We try to make it seem like reading is more than just homework.
Yeah, and I also remember right when I started working, it was kind of the holiday season, and we had one of our biggest holiday giveaway events for families in need called Empty Stocking Club. And it's set up at this very large convention center, and families are able to come through and pick out a book for every child for the holidays, which is a really important time of year. They're able to also pick out a toy to go along with those books. So it was a really important event to be at. But I remember a similar situation in which kids or parents were coming up to us and saying, "Do you have any of these titles? I'm not sure if I should get them a graphic novel." But again, we really stressed graphic novels are books, and they empower children to be more confident readers and get excited again about reading. So that's all really important to us. And we're able to have a discussion with the parent and be like, "Well, I understand your concern. There are more pictures in this, but there's also great narratives. There's compelling stories within them. And say a child really likes this graphic novel, then they're going to want to read something else that might be similar with longer words." So it's just about building up that confidence. I know one series that kids really like is Wings of Fire, and they have the graphic novel, but they also have the chapter books. So kids are able to kind of dip their toe in with the graphic novels and then maybe move on to the chapter books. I think that's really important. We see the Harry Potter books now being turned into graphic novels as well. We see that authors and publishers are seeing the value in that, and I think it's going to take time for parents to kind of catch on and see that that's all really important for um, uh, empowering kids to keep reading.
I agree with you guys. We were talking about how can we empower kids to read, and this is just one way. And I really appreciate that you mentioned that you show by example by reading while the kids are there, like on your off time. And I think that's amazing. I think kids go by example, and so when they see that, they appreciate that, and then they're gonna read. I love how you guys have the book drive. We do the same thing. So how do you balance promoting the books, both culturally relevant and age appropriate?
We cover all age groups, birth to 18. So that's a wide variety of age groups to cover and to serve. And as kids get older, sometimes it's a little harder to get them excited about reading. We're really all about making sure that when we accept donations, they are what kids want. They are of higher quality. So we want to make sure that they're newer, that they are not derogatory or stereotypical. We're really trying to make sure that we're getting books into the community that are empowering and not kind of telling some falsehoods or kind of putting people down or just putting out some racist tropes or something like that. We're really all about making sure that kids, no matter who they are, no matter what age they are, they feel able to read a story that they want. There's some parents as well out there who might feel like a book is too babyish or um, too small for them. And we're all about nipping that narrative in the bud and being like, well, this is a book, and if they feel comfortable reading, they're reading, which is that's what we should be aiming for. That's number one on our list is to get kids reading and to make sure that we're fulfilling their interests and making sure that they're not being turned away from a certain book because it's too babyish or something like that. That's really important to us, and we have a whole set of donation guidelines for our donors to look into when they're making donations. So we try to sort through them and put some out in our book center, put some out in our little free libraries to spread the wealth around. And when we get financial contributions, it's the same kind of thing. We're going to be purchasing books that represent the community that we are in. So books with diverse children together, because we are in Madison, which is a fairly diverse community, and we want to make sure that every child is feeling represented and that children are empowered to learn from different experiences from their own as well.
This episode of the Storyteller Show podcast is brought to you by Harney & Sons Fine Teas, a perfect companion to every story. Whether you're reading, writing, or just enjoying a quiet moment to yourself, Harney & Sons offers a beautiful selection of teas to elevate this experience. From classic blends to unique finds, every cup is crafted with care, just like the stories we love to share. Shop harney.com/discount/storyteller, and Storyteller is in all caps. Now let's get back to the show.
So touching on donations, that's a really great segue into this question. How can people get involved with what you're doing, whether they live locally or not?
Yeah, I love this question. If anyone is interested out there in getting involved in donating, you can just go to madisonreadingproject.com. At the top right of the page, you'll see a button that says donate, and that should take you to our financial contribution page. And we also have a drop-down menu for donating books if you're local. There are some donation guidelines there for donors who are looking to do that. So there are so many ways to donate, whether it be a direct donation, whether it be through employee giving, whether it be through donor advised funds, that kind of thing. We also have legacy giving. So that's another really important thing that we're kind of getting off the ground now, leaving Madison Reading Project in your will to continue the legacy. That's just so important to have that intergenerational impact. Now, we have fundraising events throughout the year that we'd love more folks to attend. And we love growing our base of donors. And there's so many ways to get involved, whether or not you live in Madison. Of course, we serve the greater Dane County area, but really anyone in the country, around the world, can get involved in our very worthwhile mission.
Yeah. And if you're local, you can also donate your time. We have projects going on all the time and are usually looking for volunteers. Like we talked about at the top of the episode, we just finished up with one of our biggest fundraisers of the year. And that is also one of the times when we have the most volunteers of the year, whether it's just tying paper leaves together or painting set pieces. We can always use extra hands around the book center. And drop by if you see the bus. Come grab a book. Talk to us about the books because we're reading them and want to talk to you about them.
Storytellers. So you heard it. There is a lot of opportunity for you to get involved. And if you didn't catch everything, as usual, please just go to our website and click on Madison Reading Project, and we will lay out all of the links for you so that you can get to where you need to be so that you can help out.
Thank you for watching the Storyteller Shelf podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss new insights from emerging authors, illustrators, and publishing professionals. Your support truly helps our show grow. And if you'd like to support us directly, visit our Ko-fi page and click Buy Me a Ko-fi. Thanks again for tuning in.